Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, just in the last 24 hours, we just crossed the line. Israel didn't just strike Gaza. No. For the first time ever, they just took the fight straight into Doha, Qatar, Hamas's luxury safe house, their so-called neutral ground, and boom, Hamas leadership gone in a flash. Are you hearing me? World War III isn't some future prediction anymore. It just erupted. And don't take my word for it. The headlines are everywhere, folks. I mean, look at this. AP screaming, Israeli strike in Qatar targets Hamas leaders as ceasefire talks collapse. You got Reuters blasting, Turkey condemns Israeli attack in Doha, calls it state terrorism. The White House scrambling. Trump's aides warned Qatar this was coming. Trump said it himself on Truth Social. You'll find out soon. Well, guess what? The world just found out. And listen to this garbage from the DC swamp press. This does not advance America's goals. Oh, really? So tell that to the October 7th victims. Tell that to the hostages that are rotting in Hamas's tunnels. Meanwhile, the UN, the EU, and every weak globalist puppet crying crocodile tears. This is a catastrophic blow to democracy. Catastrophic blow to democracy, folks. Let me go ahead and spell this out for you, okay? Democracy was dead the minute that Hamas butchered innocent people last year, okay? The strike here didn't kill peace talks. It buried the illusion of peace once and for all. So this is why I'm telling you right now, this is not prep anymore. This isn't talk. This is eruption. Israel just wrote the rules. Hamas leaders taken out in a so-called neutral capital. Qatar screaming bloody murder. You've got Turkey raging and President Trump moving the U.S. military into all-out escalation mode. Carriers in motion. Fighters in the skies, sanctions on deck. So here's the only question left. Is this just the spark, or has World War III already begun? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But stick with me, guys, because we're going to break down every angle, every move, and why today might go down as the day history split in half. Hit the like button, subscribe. So let's go ahead and set the stage. Under President Donald J. Trump, let me go ahead and tell you right now, this is the day that the history books will mark as the turning point. Not just some warning, not some drill, not some prep. World War III has erupted. Now, yesterday, Israel didn't just launch another strike in Gaza. No, they crossed the Rubicon. Now, for the first time in history, Israel sent jets screaming into Doha, Qatar, the so-called neutral capital. This is the place where Hamas leadership thought that they were safe, sipping coffee, living like kings. Meanwhile, their people rot in tunnels. Well, safe no more. Israel turned Doha into a battlefield, and the whole world just got dragged with it. Now, this is the eruption point. What we're looking at here is Israel shatters a neutral ground. Okay, the neutral ground has been shifted. The neutral ground has been tainted. Okay, so Israel shatters a neutral ground. Hamas loses its safe house, and the United States under Trump goes into all-out military escalation. This is where we are today. Now, let me tell you, folks, this is not just another headline. This is the fuse of the powder keg. Now, let's talk about what went down in Qatar, because this one is unprecedented. This wasn't Gaza City. This wasn't Rafah. This was Doha. Okay. Israeli Air Force, Israeli air power reached into the heart of Qatar and hit the Hamas political bureau. We're talking about the very men orchestrating the October 7th massacre, the very hands that are pulling the strings of war. Now, reports are saying Khalil al-Hayya and others were targeted. Now, Hamas big shots who essentially relocated to Qatar last year after Israel eliminated Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Do you guys remember that? Israel took him out in the Iranian capital itself. And so now the replacements thought that Qatar could actually protect them. Well, last night, Israel showed the world that no capital is safe if you harbor terrorists. Let's not sugarcoat it. This was a symbol-shattering strike, okay, folks? Qatar was supposed to be the mediator, the safe playground where Hamas could talk deals. Instead, Israel just smashed that illusion into rubble. The message is very clear. This is where they became just crystal clear, abundantly clear for just in case there was any misinterpretation. There are no more safe havens. There are no more neutral grounds. If you plan massacres, you die, even if you're hiding under the flag of a wealthy Gulf state. So now here's the question that we need to ask. Does this strike mark the end of diplomacy and the start of total war? Because the moment Israel hit Doha, the fuse was lit. The only thing left to find out is how fast the fire spreads. Your biggest enemy isn't bad health. It's bad Medicare coverage, because even with good health, bad Medicare coverage will drain your money. It will limit your care, and it will rob you of peace of mind. This is why I partner with Chapter. They expose the enemy and they replace it with a plan that protects you. Leslie beat it. She saved $1,000. Sharon beat it too. She got coverage back after losing Medicaid. So let me ask, do you want to keep fighting alone, or do you want to join the thousands who have already called Chapter to fight back? Now, most people, they're calling the phone number at the bottom of your screen right there, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. The telephone number is 909-563-8279. Now, here's where the explosion goes nuclear, folks. Qatar's furious response, the so-called mediator, the middleman, the place where all the champagne diplomacy was supposed to happen, yeah, they're not smiling today. So Qatar's foreign ministry blasted Israel's move as a cowardly attack. Their words, not mine, okay? They're furious, they're humiliated, and they're promising retaliation. Now, think about that for a second, okay? A nation that was sitting at the peace table yesterday is now talking about striking back tomorrow? And why? Because their game just got exposed. Qatar was never neutral. They were a hotel for Hamas leaders. Hamas set up shop in Doha, running war ops from luxury suites while their people were starving in Gaza. Israel ripped that mask off, and Qatar doesn't like what the world just saw in the mirror. So now let's not forget, Qatar was one of the two main mediators alongside Egypt. Now, basically the only ones that were, left to piece together a ceasefire deal. They're gone, shattered. Neutrality is dead. The middleman just got dragged into the war, whether they like it or not. Now, this is escalation without breaks here, folks. So now I want to talk about what this really means for the hostage talks and for ceasefire proposals. Folks, this is the darkest part of the story, okay? The very men who were supposed to negotiate the release of hostages, the so-called negotiators sitting in Doha, well, they're the same men Israel just took out. Hamas negotiators aren't missing their ashes. So tell me, who's left at the table? Who's left to trade prisoners, to hand back hostages? Anybody? Nobody, okay? And so this means only one thing. If the negotiators are dead, the negotiations are dead. You see where I'm going with this here, guys? And so when when diplomacy dies, the war takes its place. There's no other option. This wasn't just a strike on Hamas leadership. This was a strike on the entire illusion that there could be a peace deal. And it was a strike that happened with Trump's White House watching every single move. Remember, his team floated a new ceasefire and a prisoner swap just a few days ago. Poof, it's gone. And if you think Hamas is going to crawl out of that rubble of Doha and come back begging for peace, think again, guys, because ask yourself this. If the mediators were compromised, if the hostages are pawns with no one left to trade, well, what path is left but war? See, this is the cliff that we're standing on right now. So right now, I want to talk about the big one, okay? The U.S. response, because when Israel dropped bombs on Doha, the world looked straight at Washington. And President Donald J. Trump, he didn't blink. He didn't hesitate. He went straight to escalation mode. The order went out. Surge U.S. naval power into the Mediterranean and the Gulf. Carrier groups moving. Fighter jets repositioned. Missile batteries are on standby. Trump had already warned the world on Truth Social just days ago. You'll see what happens. Well, guess what? You're seeing it right now. Now, here's the kicker. This isn't just about protecting Israel. No, this is about deterrence. This is about telling Iran, telling Hezbollah, telling every terror proxy out there, don't even think about opening another front. Because if you do, the United States military is already on your doorstep, locked and loaded. Now, folks, this is an all-out escalation readiness mode here. I mean, we're not talking about sanctions down the road. We're not talking empty statements from weak politicians. We are talking warships, bombers, troops moving right now. Now, under President Trump, America is not waiting to fire for the fire to spread, okay? We're actually flooding the zone before the spark actually hits the powder, if you understand what I'm saying here. But while President Trump moves to hold the Middle East line, there's something else that's happening, something that's even darker, because while the U.S. and Israel are essentially staring straight at Hamas, Qatar, and Iran, two other things are happening right now. Russia and China, they're moving their chess pieces. So let's go ahead and break this down. Russia's flexing its nuclear submarine fleet in the Pacific, all right? Long-range, nuclear-tipped missiles roaming the seas, and they're not hiding it. China, they send a so-called hospital ship on a mission called Harmony 2025 to Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, guys, don't let the name fool you, okay? That's military projection on America's doorstep. Britain and Japan teaming up with HMS Prince of Wales off Russia's eastern flank. You think Moscow isn't watching that, guys? Everyone's watching that. They're watching every move. And Finland, yes, little Finland, deploying brand new Israeli-made Gabriel V missiles in the Baltic. That is a direct shot at Russia's northern backyard, okay? I hope you guys are seeing the pattern here. While the headlines scream about Hamas and Qatar, the rest of the world is watching and observing quietly. The world is quietly circling. Russia and China, they're not sitting this one out. They're waiting. They're flanking, okay? They're probing for weakness while America's eyes are on the Middle East. So that's the danger. One front turns into two. Two turns into four. And before you know it, the entire globe is a battlefield. This is how World War III erupts. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly where we're at right now. All right, so we've already covered Israel's strike, Qatar's fury, President Trump's escalation, Russia and China circling, but we cannot forget about the core enemy here, Hamas, and of course, the regional fallout. So yes, Israel took out some of Hamas's top brass in Doha. Yes, that was definitely a crushing blow, but don't think just for a second that this war machine's over. No, Hamas thrives on chaos. You kill one leader, another one steps out of the shadows. Now, the real question is, how do they respond? Do they strike Israel directly? Do they target U.S. assets overseas? Do they unleash rockets from Gaza or even worse, call in backup? Because, folks, the sharks are circling. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Iranian Quds Force, every terror proxy waiting in Syria and Iraq. I mean, they're watching what happened in Doha and they're asking one question. Do we jump in now? And this is what really makes this moment so dangerous. The Middle East isn't just about Hamas anymore. It's about whether their allies light up the map in a full regional war. Israel knows it. Israel knows it, Trump knows it, and the Pentagon is bracing for it. But here's where it gets terrifying. The risk of global escalation, because while Hamas pilots revenge, okay, while Hamas is plotting revenge, the rest of the world is essentially already moving the pieces on the board. I mean, look at Venezuela. They just buzzed U.S. Navy ships with fighter jets in the Caribbean. That's not just a stunt. That was Maduro testing President Trump's red lines. You got China rolling out their hypersonic missiles in the parade, weapons capable of striking Guam, U.S. bases, even carriers. They call one of them the Guam killer. Not subtle at all, right? So then, of course, what about Russia? Well, they just launched their largest drone and missile strike on Ukraine since the war began. Hundreds of drones raining down on civilians while Putin laughs off Trump's sanctions threats. Wow. So stack it all together. Venezuela poking in the Caribbean, China's showing off hypersonics, Russia's pounding Ukraine, Hamas burning for revenge, and Israel already crossing the line in Qatar. Folks, this isn't multiple headlines. This is a war map, and every corner of it is on fire. Make no mistake, this is not just a Middle East war anymore. This is a World War III landscape, and every move being made right now pushes us closer and closer to the edge. So we need to talk about what just died this week. Diplomacy, okay? Qatar was supposed to be neutral. Egypt was supposed to be the other bridge. Together, they were the mediators, the so-called grown-ups in the room. And now Qatar has been hit, Egypt's isolated, and the entire ceasefire charade is in ruins. There's no more middleman. There's no more handshakes behind closed doors. That door has just been slammed shut, locked, and blown off the hinges. Let's talk about allies. The allies aren't softening their tone. They're hardening it. Look at the moves. Britain and Japan, they're locking arms against Russia. NATO eyes locked in on Finland as they deploy Israeli missiles in the Baltic. Trump just shifted U.S. forces like chess pieces to every hotspot at once. Folks, this isn't the language of peace. This is the language of war. The window is closed. The world is no longer negotiating peace. The world is mobilizing. And that brings us to the final truth. September 9th, 2025 is going to go down as the day that the mask came off. Israel broke precedent and struck Hamas leaders in Doha. Qatar screamed. The U.S. under President Trump moved into all-out escalation mode. Russia, China, Iran, Venezuela, all circling around like vultures. The talking heads will still say diplomacy, but the UN, they're going to still, the UN is still going to issue statements, but you and I both know the truth. This is not preparation mode anymore. This is eruption. The world isn't stepping back. It is stepping into the fire. So here's the only question that really matters. How far does this thing go? Does it stop with Hamas? Does it stop with Qatar? Or are we watching the first dominoes of a true world war falling right now, right in front of our eyes? Now, ladies and gentlemen, World War III has erupted, and this time, unfortunately, there's no turning back.